message for the community, so we'll start off with an opening prayer.
Father, we come before and we thank you for this evening as my people gathered. We thank you, Lord, for giving us this day and the breath of what we must do for the community. May the Holy Spirit be upon us as we go about our business here. May nothing prosper as we do this, and we thank you for the people that are here helping us through. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Before we get started, I just want to share who am I and what am I doing here, where am I from? So first of all, my name is Victor Poole. I'm from Satellite First Nation. And so I previously worked with your chief who had passed on years ago, Roy Bird, with the government of Canada. He was the RDG at the time for Saskatchewan, the highest level of regional official you can have in provincial government. Then he had moved over to Alberta, and that's where I was working as part of the executive, and that's how I met Roy. And we used to do a lot of work together, work with a lot of files, and then later on in years, things have happened, and so it was May 25th, 2022, when I first got introduced to the chief and council. I was asked, I was working for another nation. They said to me, can you come and share with us what you do as far as project management? We're doing a school with one nation, we're doing a water plant, we're doing a number of different things. I've done projects such as that in my own community. And I worked 15 years with the government of Canada as a sole kind of work. And the reason why I did that is how do we work together and understand both sides to make things work for us? So because of that relationship and the invite that I had from your chief and council, it wasn't until November I was asked to come back and meet with you guys. So before I go on any further, I want to turn it over to the chief to give us some opening remarks on what it is. And today is an information session. There's no agenda for it. We just want to give you an update of where we were and where we're at today. And I'll introduce the team of people here that are your architects that you selected. And I'll explain that it wasn't my selection, but it's involved in the community. With that, Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
Hej London, jeg er fra Sigrid, jeg kan ikke se, at det skal jeg. Bare kan vi gå med at det ikke men don't see a feeling yeah, okay. With the go. Thank you, with the go. Yeah. For the prayers. It's always good to start with the prayers. And also, I also want to say, Kayasama. Let us not forget about the people that started the school back in the day. Back in 1977, Kayasmana. Because it's now out again. We started off with a one-room bedroom, a one-room school, our grandparents, our parents and our grandparents. And from then on, we used to have an old school over there. It's now out again, lots of windows. And then there used to be Densman was on the side, up in the windows. I remember going there, this is a little story. I'm always full of stories. You know, the venting place, one of my sandwiches was a rabbit Lake. Gusto man, by matawid sa man our teachers, kaya gusto man, permisa huwag, nando matigiyot na matigitas tano this little bone ta, kubuha maya huwapos. So I took that, so I went over there, the benching, that bone there. But during those days, our teachers probably remember that. And from then on, the Indian Affairs at that time, today we call them ISK, but Indian Affairs at that time, Mr. Moon or all kinds of teachers, and it wasn't back in the 70s and 80s, I guess, the chief and council at the time, said, you know what, we have to take control of our education. Back in 1974, let's take back our education. Let's train our own people. Let's train their own people so they become teachers. Okay? So this happened in PA district. Laurence did that. Peter Ballantyne did that. And Montreal Lake did that. And Sturgeon Lake. So all of us went to train. We had our own teacher training program back in the day. And after that, most of us ended up in university, having to go to university, get our teaching degrees. And then coming back, back in the day, by 1981, I remember 1981 when the school was officially done and we were able to teach. As a matter of fact, Carla is sitting here. Carla always calls me teacher or teacher because Carla used to be one of my students. And then after all that, we worked here. Today you see the school. It's kind of run down. Our school was built in 1970s or 80s. Is that Sheldon? Hey. Hello. Our school is over 40 years old. So you guys are the ones that are in school committee. You guys are blessed to represent the people, your children, your grandchildren. I'm thankful. To have a say. You guys are very important. You're the grassroots people. They call you grassroots people because you represent the people in the community. You represent your children, your grandchildren. I mean, he said, we all know how important education is. And we have to continue. And even as leaders, we want this. We want to have a new school, but where do we go? We don't have the resources. We don't have the time. Who do we go to? What's the protocol? What's the process of building a new school? Of course, we all have dreams. So we were very fortunate when we actually met with Victor Hull back in May 25th, 2 years ago. So we're very, very fortunate. From there, he hired Julie, who used to be a grade 5 student here in Montreal Lake. Hired her to work with him because we want to use our own people. We want to hire our own people. Just like back in the 80s when they wanted their own teachers to teach their own children. At that time, we continue that cycle. And then because we know our kids, we know our families. And that's and we're very blessed to have Victor Hull work with us. And we're also very blessed to have these young guys working with us, these young people, ADOBD. They also have a contract to have our women's shelter. Women's shelter. They have the contract to do that as well. There's a lot of things coming up. It's going to be a great year this year and next year and the following year because there's so many things coming up, except for the road. I can't wait for your house applause, maybe we'll have a new pavement. But of course, you guys won't say no. Just kidding. The road, we have to do something about that road, but it's even worse going through Little Red. It would be that all these years, about that road there. You know, lots of plans. We have to have lots of plans. So that's why you guys are sitting here, so you can have an input about the new school. Some of you guys, if you didn't care about your education, you didn't care about your kids or your grandchildren, lots of things happen now. So thank you for that. So thank you for coming in here. We start what stage are you? Everything else takes a process. Sometimes maybe 2 years, sometimes 3 years, sometimes more than that. But sometimes it's a school as big as this because and there's not enough room. During COVID, there's about 32 students with big bodies in one classroom. So, we couldn't use that IA. We couldn't use that. Students, even the stage here, even the high school students say, this year, possibly hoping it's going to happen this year, but we have 2 portables coming in until we get that new school. But we get that new school, we're going to have a better flooring. Right? Okay. So, we're going to have you guys are in a position to take an interest in this, what's going on, what's happening, and the process, how long we've come from a dream that's coming true. You could say, hi.
Thank you, Chief. Just to continue this, as I said earlier, this is more an information session to bring you up to date of where things are at. So I'm going to go through a quick presentation to share with you what we did to get to this point today, and then the work that has started after we tendered out the work to AODPC. The gentleman that's sitting here is one of the consultants we hired, Kyle, and Veronica. Both of them are architects, and so that's their responsibility to bring this. So we met with the leadership, met with the teachers, meeting took place with elders, and they're meeting with the youth too. So now coming back with this information to share with you, and tomorrow we're spending the day with the managers and directors. Because one of the things I want to say is it's important to get all your demography, and what that means is projecting the size of school you want to build. The last thing you want to do is build a nice building and not have enough room. And then we're already talking about how do you tie in the daycare and the Head Start into a new facility. So when we talk about lifelong learning, something I remember my grandfather told me. He said, little brother, moi gatska punks na maksen. He walked up the down in that's when I got to take 6 na maksen. You never quit learning. When you take the last breath of air on the face of this earth, that's our last day of learning. Don't think you're smarter than anybody else. Just look at them as equal and treat them with the respect that everybody deserves. I follow a lot of those values and teachings. So when I believe in our, our identity as First Nation people. One of the things I talk about too is trying to get people like Kyle and Rhonda to work with us is our culture and our language. You got one and wrong. We can speak that for us. Go into them. As much as we can, we got to move toward trying to revital that and teach that. So what it is here is a progress. Since I met the nation and started working, one of the things we did is, when I met the nation on May 22, and I just introduced myself, that's what I do, but I was doing other work, and then in November, they asked me, can you work with us? So that's when we started, November 11th, was Remembrance Day, November 11th day. And I remember your council were meeting on that holiday, and I went and met them on that day, talked over about it. So, and at that time, I put Rob Harvey's name here. He's your RMG, the highest level of the Saskatchewan region for Indian Affairs and finance, but now we call it ISC, Indigenous Services Canada. So he said, if you spend your own money to do this feasibility study, it's reimbursable. But they didn't have the money that time, but they had committed to do it, so that's what the council, let's get it done. So anyway, your education committee, who are actually they're busy right now doing interviews for principal and teachers, and they're still in I think I'm saying Prince Albert. Yeah, and they're doing interviews, and I know some of them wanted to be here today, but they'll be back tomorrow for the other meeting. So anyway, Roger is also part of that group. He's met with their education committee too. So what we did is we developed what the government calls this, in order to move forward, in order to get our money back, we have to develop terms and references. Tanso misintoit marganski tatuskalva. So what is it that we want to list down by step, and how do we ensure we get value for money? So once we did that, we created what we call a project management team, PMT. So what that means is, it's not, Kyle is part of the team, but they're not the owner. Montreal Lake is the owner, and that's how, so it's important that administration, finance, leadership, elders, everybody gets involved in part of the planning. And the reason why is this building that you have right now, that we're in right now, they refer to that as it reached this 40-year life cycle. That means, you can keep spending money repairing it, but you're never going to get it back to what it needed. So for now, I think you're getting about in the last 4 or 5 years, I think you received about $5.5 million for renovations, fixing the roof, fixing this, but I'm going to show you some slides that I still see here. If I were to walk around today, I can probably still spot these things that I see here. So we identified 5 firms to bid on this job for a feasibility. 5 architectural firms were committed to initially start, but only 4 put in a bid. We created question and answers. We prepared questions for your chief and council and your education committee to interview guys like Kyle and their team. And they weren't just handpicked. They had to go through an hour-and-a-half interview, and we set that up. And GLL, you as Montreal Lake Cree Nation, selected the firm that you wanted to work with. It wasn't someone from outside telling you who to work with, so that's the whole process. When we received the proposals, but then we got a little bit of a delay there. We had elections, so things got stalled a little bit, and we had to wait till the election was over to get going again. So we brought Rob Harvey here about almost a year later, and we walked him through the school, and he did not know that this building that originally time, I believe, or they added on one wing, they added another wing on, and it just kept adding. So in industry, AK, how do you manage, control a mechanical system in a facility that keeps adding on every 10 years? Like, how do you control it? And so part of that is this is what industry uses, not government, but industry, everybody follows this. So you have an identification phase. You identify the challenge and what you do. We did that. Part 2 was the feasibility study. By this time now, we're moving towards government giving you the money to do this work that Kyle and them are doing. It's not taking program dollars from the existing program. We finally got it to a point that Montreal Lake wasn't their priority. We found a way to bring it up as a priority. They use categories. And I know you won't understand what I'm saying, but what that means is they put it on the list. Montreal Lake, it was 17 million. And I just finished a school that was over $20 million, $22 million. And then this one, how do I arrive at that number? I don't know. That means it's going to be smaller. Even so, and I'm looking at other facilities. So anyway, we made sure that they redid their capital plan that the government of Canada has gotten, and they recategorized it to a C2, which means it's a higher priority. That's when we got their funding. So that's how we moved along. So this design phase, there's a lot of information Kyle and their team are doing. And demography is going to be one of them. When I talk about demography, the growing population. When we brought Rob Harvey here and said that we don't want to build a school and find out that it's too small. So I've seen a lot of buildings there. So the next phase, stage 3, is a design. We want to you're not in the design phase yet, but that's the next phase, that's the next step. So so far, we got the funding for this, and what the government wanted is, in order to give Montreal Lake the money, they wanted a project manager to manage it, but to count on the outside of Montreal Lake. And I said, Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I was in that meeting, I said that's paternalistic. If you're going to allow us to build capacity, allow us to do so. And allow Montreal Lake to do that. So what they agreed with Montreal Lake, the ISC office, was having a band designate. We created so I helped create the job description for a band designate. What it means is a job description with the requirements of some of the ingredients for a project manager project oversight. But sometimes somebody that oversees a project doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be able to dig holes or anything like that, but how do you manage all this coming together? So build our own capacity. That's how we're able to connect with Julie because of her background in education and she's pursuing her master's and someone that's thinking in that bigger picture of what they want to do. And so rather than paying me this money to do all this, use some of that money that we're getting to pay a band member and then start building capacity. You're going to need more people than just one person like that eventually, but you teach, Chief talked about teachers and how we're starting to get some of our own. I have a daughter that's a principal right now at the Healing First Nation, and she's also pursuing her PhD, but she has her challenges, and every school has challenges. We all know that. And so anyway, we want to get to the design, and the sooner we get this work done, the sooner we get to that point. And then we want to get into construction phase after design, but I'll get Kyle to talk a little bit about what that looks like when we get into that point. then we want to make sure that we hire people here when that phase starts going, when you tender that. That's another process. So as part of this whole process, this is what you will be involved in. But also what we're finding out is we want to connect these other facilities that are being proposed. Say daycare, Head Start, tie them in together and move along. Then once you get into the occupancy, then you gotta, the real work starts after you build a building. Now you gotta maintain it. So, but anyway, we'll get to that. This is kind of an idea of a project management team. It's just, we don't need that many people, but it's just an example of a school where you have someone from infrastructure, or Ben from the, the administration, someone that's involved in your capital program, that's from the nation here, chief and council representative. We don't need everybody in these meetings, just someone that will go back and forth and share. Someone from one of these people from finance that sit there, so we do have that. Some in education, people from education representing, liaison would be built. Those are people that are going to maintain this building. Because that's when they need help too when you get to work there. Then you get into, as you build your PMP team, you start getting a prime consultant. That's what you have. So right now, AOCTQ would start working toward becoming your prime consultant. And then you have your general contractor, eventually will be part of this team. And then superintendent's one of them. Then your funding agency, I always put them at the end. They give us the money, but they don't, we'll design it, we'll build it the way, but we'll give. And then the team members can join at various times. And we always want them to include, have an elder. I usually recommend that to many First Nations, to have an elder as part of it. So when we tendered it out, what we did was, I was showing here some of the stuff that we did. AODPT, I found out after when I started working with you, is they did an assessment of this building in 2018. So we all back then already, it was already being known that there's something needs to be done. That's how we ended up with that $5.5 billion to start doing stuff. But Kyle and them are sitting here today, and they probably, it's hard to see how we spent $5 million. Would you say that, Kyle? So this building needs a lot of extra work. So, and then we had a safety inspection on your facility. We identified PMT members. And then what we did here is, when we met with council, if these consultants want to work with us, they can come to our classroom here, and when we need our request for proposal, they call it. If they want to work with us, they got to come to our community. We don't no sense sending it to them in Prince Albert or Saskatoon. I always believe if you want to work with us, you got to see our community. So we made sure they came here. And I took this picture in one of the classrooms. Even as I was looking at this picture, there's a lot of, you can see on the corner of that picture, in the top left-hand corner, there's openings already, leaks in that. Even behind where the teacher is standing, there's a whiteboard there that's over the sink, and it's with brackets with 2x4, stuff like that. And we're doing the best with what we have, but sometimes so what we did is this is the Regional Director General, the RDG, that's Rob Harvey. It was the first time he came to the school, and he did not realize how old the building was and how many times it was added on, different phases. And then, of course, we walked around in their shops and we looked at different things. Your council were present at the same time, and there were education people who were going around here. And then that's when he confirmed his commitment to work with Montreal Lake. So that was part of my responsibility to try and get people on board to work with us. And what I did here is we make this presentation for Indian Affairs. even though the amount of money they put in here, this is some of the stuff that still exists here. You've got leaks, you've got, rotting that's happening, you've got windows that were boarded up for safety issues, There was mold rotting that was occurring on the external side. You had mechanical problems in some of the building here. Then you got some rotting because of leakages. You didn't have a fire suppression system at all for deep fryer. It's still done. I'm not sure if it's there now. But you got infiltration through the windows. You're insulating it. You've got, these are ceiling leaks that are showing. You had code violations on electrical here that probably still exist. You've got facilities that, so it's not an abused building. We told Rob Murray, we're trying to make the best of just the wear and tear. We're trying our best to do with what we have. And then amongst all this, I took this picture in their front entrance to that time when I was here. These little ones were waiting to come into this gym while one class was going to exit out here. We're just constantly, we're busy, we're a busy place. So one day we want to have, this is what it looks like. It looks normal when you look at the left side, but I just showed you some of the pictures. One day we want to have a facility that looks something like going on the side. That's just an example. It's not what your school will look like. It's just to show before and after. So anyway, this is, when we're selecting consultants, this is what we ended up with. This is how you rate them. And then that's how we're proving to the government of Canada that they were all in the process. And we have our own people working with us, and that's where Julie is picking up on all this. So a lot of this stuff we're going to have and have a process, and it takes time. Every project is different. And then when we tendered it out, these were all the bids that we had there. And we had work in Garrett. You can imagine it goes their eyes, they will be competitors to those guys. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I think they all know each other and they all talk, but they've had so we went through this process. We interviewed on June 1st, we interviewed all of them. And everybody got the same question. Every member, the committee members, the education members, the chief council had questions assigned to them, and we interact and the whole process. So anyway, we wanted to determine is the lowest bid necessarily the best price. I don't agree with that. Sometimes it's, or the highest bid is not necessarily. You got to make sure you want to know if people that are going to work for us understand what it is we're looking for and how we work together. So that's what it's all. So all this is just a lot of literatures and a lot of the stuff that we did. See, some of the questions we asked is, what experience do you have on education programming? So anyway, that's what we did, and we created a lot of questions, and then there's a schedule that we had here that we're using, but there's an updated one. So by the end of June, we're hoping to try and finish this portion of the project. And these were speaking notes that Chief used when she was making the presentation to Rob Harvey. This is actually her notes that she's using just to remember what to say. So anyway, that's part of my presentation, so if you can turn on the light on that. So, you want to? Yeah. You done? Yeah. So, while we're setting up now Kyle and Veronica are going to share word or how far they've come to where they're at today on the work that they've done on the design. And once that information is shared, I think lots of things so, but do you have any questions before you there's no questions or any comments. You said earlier, how long? When? Where? So some of that information these guys will share that came out of some of the others and the education. On one of the presentations I've seen already that was done, there were some recommended ideas. But even when you get to that point where the school will be located, you have to do what they call geotechnical. What that means is to test the ground and then to ensure what kind of structure you're going to build underneath. So geotech work needs to be done once we determine the site. You can't just say, right now, this is where we're going to build it, what if that site is not feasible. But you want a higher location too. One of the things I found out here when we were working on this is there has been many floods in the school. There's a lot of recent work. And so in the elevation, I have another presentation. What I did on that one is that by the time we're done, it's a time lapse. What that means is there's a camera 24 hours. And we build a school in 14 months, but every day, but you're showing this in 3.5 minutes. And I stress that this is a treatment concept. But what it shows is when we're building it, we raise the ground up a meter to make sure that you have that 1 to 2% drainage away from the building. Then you make sure you pave it so the maintenance is reduced also your own effort. Because the custodians have to do a lot of work, especially after weather like today. So location is a key component. We don't know right now, but that we're still you guys will have to give some idea.
Sorry. I think that's why it's important that you guys are here in Skidington, that like, some of the riverbeds are what they didn't know, there was a riverbed, and that's why we have so much problems with the clinic. As come out of doors, we see shift away, man. In the springtime, and when it's thawing out, or when it's in the wintertime, it shifts, eh? Some of the doors you can't open. And I think the reason for that is because it's an old riverbed. And so I think this is important that so I think that's the way. Where do you want the new school? And I think I forgot to mention that the vice chief regrets that he can't be here because he wanted to be here. He has I came here and then he's at the principal interviews right now. So that's the reason why he can't be here. And another one too is that he's got I just came from a council meeting and we're talking about in the new school with daycare, with the task and Head Start together. So it gives in some of the schools like Carlton, they have a daycare there. It gives young people, young mommies, an opportunity to attend school while their kids are being looked after. And another one in Whitefish, when you go to Whitefish, there's an arena. There's an arena that's built within the site of the school, and it's part of the school. And so that's something what we might be looking at because as you can see, the arena is just as old, probably older than the school here. And the arena was built by from its own resource revenue. They built the arena, they built the band office, it goes to Minute Church from all the donations or taxes, I guess I would say. Kayasma, when they first started back in the 80s, they started, everybody that worked for Montreal Lake, and this was under Roy Bird's leadership. They taxed everybody. 1%, 3% at that time, because we didn't have anybody, we didn't have any money. We don't have resources just like they do in Alberta, where they have a lot of oil sands, or they have lots of oil. We don't have the resources there, so all of us that work here were taxed maybe or they call them donations. 3% of our check go back to the band and season. And that's what they use to build that's what all that money they use to build the arena, and also the church, and part of the band office. So that's why the arena is costing, it's going to be costing us a lot of money, because it's breaking down. Now when we have a new school, I think that's what they want to see, part of the arena. It's all about children. It's all about children playing hockey, using that as a sports facility, I guess. So that's one of the dreams, but where do you put it? You look around, some people said maybe down the lake, but the infrastructure is because the down the lake is lower on the CC, you know, the pipes would have to go up from CC. So, and then some people said maybe at the, you know, where the gate, where the old ball field is. But there's another new subdivision that's coming up, and that's towards Fescue. Maybe there, maybe somewhere around here. Remember, we're in a muskeg area. They gave us a muskeg. They didn't give us a gold mine. So it's where do you want the school? This is going to be your children, your grandchildren. So that's why it's so important you guys have an input.
No, thank you. I think one real quick thing I'll say, right now we don't need to decide where the school will go. Right now we decide how big we're going to make it. Then once these guys start getting involved in designing it, then that's when we're going to have to really get serious. And it doesn't hurt to talk about it right now, though. Like, potentially location, so then we get a head start. But anyway, turn it over to Kyle and their team now, and I think how long is your presentation?
We'll try and keep it fairly brief, but is somebody able to hit the lights at the back? Julia? Yeah, so good evening, everyone. If I'm talking too quietly, just let me know, and I'll try and speak up a little bit louder. But my name is Kyle Smith-Windsor. I'm an architect with AODBT Architecture, and I'm here with Veronica Gutierrez as well. So we'll just wait until the lights are changed, and then we'll go. Once the lights are changed, I'll walk through the presentation. All right, this is just a title slide, so we can go to the next. A bit of an overview of what we'll go through as our portion of the presentation tonight. Just a brief introduction to our firm, and then we'll go through some 21st century school precedent projects that we've completed recently. And then we'll go into our design charrette results. Those were the engagement sessions we had in the community 3 weeks ago or last month. And then we'll go into a case study of a recent project just to kind of give an idea of the process to come from here. And then we'll just end with trying to field some questions. So. Prince Albert, as well as Jason, the principal architect on the project, and there's about 50 staff in our firm. These are the 21st century school design precedents, so these are schools that are more recent that are currently completed. Big focus on a welcoming entry in new schools. It'll be a barrier-free design. We try and shelter that entrance from the elements. It should be secure. Provide wayfinding to everywhere else in the school because it is a larger facility, and it should express their culture in much more. A big part of new school design is what we call a student commons. It's kind of more informal gathering, learning space that everything kind of branches off of. A lot of the time it's kind of used as a cafeteria space, assembly. in the top there, you can see that round room is actually their theater. In the bottom right, those windows up above, that's the library, and the front entrance is through there. Cultural spaces are a big component to First Nations schools, both interior and outdoors, as we're trying to focus more on land-based learning. These are just some examples of those spaces around space that kind of comes in later design. Gymnasiums now get designed a lot more open with lots of natural light, not quite so dark as this space. And they're usually open up to the rest of the school, so you can imagine this whole wall here would actually have glazing. So when you come into the school, you can see the activity that's going on within the gym. They get used a lot for additional fitness programming. So here you've got the mezzanine of fitness space. In this lower picture, they've got that green space that's also there. But in both these images, there's actually a walking track that goes around the top. We look for opportunities like that in new schools. Library is a resource center, and there's lots of natural light into those spaces. There's a lot more flexibility in how they're used now, with lots of soft seating, and it's not just stacks of books. There are still physical books in the spaces, but it's kind of more connected and part of the integral part of the school now. Classrooms, these are just photos of general classrooms of kind of more elementary school space there, but typically you have the pre-K classrooms, you have your industrial arts, your PAA, home ec spaces, science labs, visual arts. Performing arts, kind of from the engagement sessions we heard, music should be a big focus here. You can see the flexibility in this top sheet. That kind of white block is the curtain, and it actually opens up into the student commons versus into a gym. The flexibility, talking about the lack of space for kids using the gym here. The lower image, those seats can actually pull back, and then that space can be used as a mini gym by elementary students day to day, because you don't have performances all the time, so it's kind of reclaimed space that way. But we also have kind of purpose-built space, so the music room in the bottom right has a lot of acoustic concerns and qualities to it. Washrooms, they're typically designed now a lot more inclusive and open to spaces, because historically they've been a place of bullying and kind of undesirable activities. Some school divisions still want to see those gendered washrooms, but they're typically open like this. So the image on the right is actually the same washrooms as the bottom image there, where those sinks are open to the corridor or never moving. Now we're into the design charrette results from our engagements in April. We came with program and concept blocks for the new school. It's right now those blocks are sized for roughly 500 students or 6,000 square meters. So just slightly more than the current school. And then these are program spaces that you would typically see in using the provincial standards. So those are what we based our blocks off in those initial engagement sessions. So this slide's the results from the 4 groups we had at the staff session. So those are each individual groups. You can kind of pick out some similarities throughout analyzing the photos afterwards. These are the results of the elders session. So for this group, or this design charrette, we only had 3 groups. So the bottom 2 images are actually the same group, but they had a 2-story concept. Some of the other ones we'll get to also. Student session, we had a good turnout, and I think maybe half of the students were there for the pizza more than the engagement, but the other half were really engaged, and the top block, that's a two-story option as well, but that group was tweaking their plan right to the end of the session. So our results, this is after we brought it back to our office and kind of looked at them all together. 7 of the 10 groups had gone to a 2-story concept. Everybody had put the staff admin block at the entrance. It's kind of that's common. The cultural room was to be expressive, and there was to be kind of a display at the entrance. There's lots of discussions of bringing the outdoors into the school, and visions of having like a large double height space with lots of natural light. Everybody split the older and younger grades, kind of had some division between them. Then the last 5 points here are kind of program spaces that were missed out of the typical provincial standard. So it was like this new school should have a music room, a Cree language classroom, sensory classrooms, land-based learning classroom, and then the daycare Head Start component of the success. So we bring it back to our office, and then we analyze kind of what the big picture items were, what the similarities. This is just a first stab. Don't read it as a floor plan. These are concept blocks right now, but just looking at the program adjacencies. So this is the 1-story option. You can kind of see the green spaces are the kind of general classrooms, but with the 1-story, those spaces are still divided with the younger, early years and elementary grades near the front, and then the high school, junior high towards the back of the school. There was lots of discussion about having the entrance face east. You can see the admin block in the orange, the resource center kind of being at the entrance. This yellow band is the student commons that we talked about. And then these spaces are really the cultural room, the language room, the arts, that really makes up the core of the facility on one side, and then the physical activity with the gym on the other. This is the 2-story option, and it's, again, don't consider it a floor plan yet, but these are just bringing those blocks and moving them around. We'll continue to do that tomorrow as well with the program heads. Again, keeping that entrance up the east, the big administration block, the resource room on one side, the gym on the other. But instead of splitting the grades, the younger age kids from the older physically on the first floor, this is actually the high school classes are on the second floor, along with their special classrooms.
Excuse me, where's your cafeteria?
So the cafeteria is part of that commons core. So you can see from those precedent photos all of those kind of seating spaces. So this is actually what would be a cafeteria. So you can kind of see that open core of the school and having some informal seating throughout there. Yeah. This is that site discussion that came up. So in those engagement sessions, we had posters along the wall, and people were invited to have their input and write their kind of visions for the new school. We don't actually know where some of these are, but these are where community members thought would be good locations. Now we'll get into a case study of the process. So this is a recent school that our firm has worked on. This project's from 2021, so 3 years ago now. So this is kind of the stage that we're in right now with your school. This is the client engagement. We're meeting with teachers, students, community. These should look fairly familiar with the design charrette that we've been doing in the community. So these are the program blocks, moving them around. And this is the step that we want to get into, that stage 3, where we're into detailed design. So there'd be kind of schematic design, and those concept plans get more hard-lined, and spaces get developed where, with lots of meetings, there's ideas of what this building's mass looks like, what the building looks like, what the materials are that are going to be used in the facility, and outside of the facility. And then the next step is we get all the engineer team engaged, and we start putting together a contract document, so the drawings that can be built off of. So this is just an example of one of those sheets that, this is the main floor plan for this school, but there's probably 100 sheets like this that get detailed up. So each classroom, there's elevations shown of what this looks like. You've got some 3D showing it. Before it goes out to the market to bid on, we kind of make some photorealistic renderings just so everybody's on the same page and everybody's happy with it. And these are images that can be used in the community to kind of inform and also hopefully get everybody excited. So that's the exterior, and here's a couple interiors of that school. And then once all the construction documents are ready to go, they go out to tender, and the construction industry bids on them. And you'll have several bidders, and whoever gets awarded the contract gets to kind of partake in this groundbreaking ground blessing ceremony, and they mobilize on site. Yeah. And then construction begins. So these are just some photos of that project's early days, and then later on, this is nearing completion. We've got our interior designer inspecting the desks, and yeah. And so high school students are already in that project. They're demolishing the existing high school, and elementary school students move in the fall, so the next year. So you can see that's kind of a 3-year process. So yeah, that's our slides, and field any questions. And then we'll be back tomorrow for the more design charrette.
We're done?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
You want to set the lights real quick? While Julie is going around getting all their names, there's apparently going to be 2 draws made here, 2 $100 draws. So, but Kyle and Veronica, the chief, and myself can win. Julie can win.
Odds are good.
Yeah.
I have a question. During the construction, suppose I want to do some drywalling. If I start working in the construction, can I get the apprenticeship? Can I get the skills? Can I get the papers for me being able to work in the construction?
So answer that question, Chief. What the chief is asking, what trades can we get out of this facility? So I'm going to show you real quickly here one building that I was involved in. We ended up with over 45 band members from that nation. And we ended up people with carpentry, mechanical, electrical, drywallers, roofers. We even on one of the other projects on a water plant that I was involved in, we had 32 members from the community. So what we did is when these guys start doing the tender documents, and when they're going to tender it out, there's a thing they call cash allowance. And so what we did with that nation is we created a cash allowance, we call it. So whoever was bidding on the job, this is the amount that we identified for local labor and our own equipment. And they have to use it for that purpose. So even though I come to work one day there in a job site and I find out I don't like drywalling and I quit in 2 days, well, that company cannot bring in somebody else to replace me from outside. You got to keep bringing in a band member. So we want to use that allowance just for that purpose. And that's how, so I said, don't give up on us. The cream will rise to the top. I always learned that. Eventually we'll go on. We'll find someone that will like that kind of work. And sometimes some people, they just want to get a chance. They want to try mechanical work or flooring like this, or any kind of work. They find out, well, it's not really my thing, I want to do something else. So it's an opportunity, but at the same time, we learn from it. So that's exactly what happened. What's that?
Are you guys going to be abolished this place? When you build a new school?
Are you guys demolished?
Oh, this building?
Oh, yeah, what's the new school is that?
Okay. No, that's another good question too, because that's what happens in a lot of our communities. My community just finished building a school. They just found out that it's too small already. My nation I come from, we have over 6,000 people on reserve. We've got over 3,000 that live off reserve. I'm one of them. But what didn't happen there is they didn't have involvement like this. Somebody needed, but that's the nation some time ago. But you got so many, but they're now calling me to come in and meet with them, and we're working with them. Now they ask me to get involved in a South Building. But what happened is we have an old school. Now they're talking about how much of that structure can be utilized to keep using. Like this is a concrete block wall, a good solid structure. Maybe a little bit of PLC, you may have to get some parts of it that may not work really well, but that will be a decision that the community will have to make. And I know it's a good question, but it's also something that you need to think about too. That's still got to be done on. Or can we even afford to keep this building open? Because the O&M on this building, I'm just going to guess, I bet you your O&M on this building is well over 500,000, 600,000 a year. What that means is paying for power, gas, your janitorial, custodial. It's a lot of, when things break down, that's just O&M. So do you have the money? But when you have a school, you get 100% O&M funding. But you want to make sure what that means is operation and maintenance funding. That's how, when you get a network Julia again, is going to be involved in what you call an acres report. So she's learning that as she goes along too. Asset management reporting system. So what that means is you have to create an AMP, they call it, asset management plan. So that's where you'll start building your own and start understanding the process. So we're not always relying on Band-Aids. We've got to put plans together. But that is something that needs to be thought about by the nation, and whether or not they're going to keep the school or use it for something else. But can you shut the light for a sec? I'm just going to... This is the school I was talking about. when you're asking about the elevation, during this time when we're building it, this is over X number of days, almost a full year, but you shorten it into 3 minutes. And what we started doing is this used to be an old outdoor skating rink. There used to be some old little, back in the day, little Indian affairs houses, we used to call them or whatever. But we ended up raising this elevation because that whole town site for that school, all the water was coming into in weather like this, it puddles outside. And when people walk in and camp in and all because I used to oversee public works program for Brian Mason for over 10 years too, back in the 90s. So it's a lot of work that the janitorial custodial services do. So you want to minimize and it saves the building. So what this is just showing you what they call a time-lapse video. And what it shows is the progress throughout the seasons as it was being constructed. And you'll notice as you go along here, you'll see some of the finishes once you get into the inside the building. But even the naming of the school, they called it Mesquite Namatuba. Mesquite means the land of medicine, but I think through a ceremony they called it Mesquite, which means the doors were open for all. Namatuba, it doesn't necessarily mean school, it means a place of learning. So, and then when they started building this, even as I learned different things, every community has their directional colors, the red, the yellow, the blue, the white. You know, we all they chose their directions, and even the council made a motion on how you'll see that when you get inside the building here, the TP will have colors there. But 56 pieces of our TP poles, they all say there's 15 poles and 2 flat poles make the 15 poles. Every pole has a value that leads to it. It was stacked on the left. There's all these different values that we carry, and those are some of the teachings that they teach in this school. So they put the name up there. What this is, so you see from where it was a big open space, but this is what the end product looks like. So all that paving we did to make sure that that's not gravel or dirt, and that was all paid for through the project. When you tender it out, you make sure that you get it. So this is, once you get to the outside, this is what it looks like after it's all done. Then we had outdoor learning on the back part there. We put walking paths. We had two playgrounds there. Then we started naming the buildings. And this is, you'll see murals on the wall. And those were not your typical stereotype native color pictures. They were from their own days, all had powwow days or cultural days. They put, and that's their first chief. They put names like New Flats. And this is the entering the TP area. This is the administration beside it. This is the teacher's lounge. And then this is the teaching area. And when you get into the TP area, this is their colors. And when you're talking inside that room, you don't even need a mic. That's how the way they're designed it. This is what these architects do for you. Here you'll make. So when you look at this, even the colors around this gym, and then this is what was the foreign company. We had a shop there, the home ec room. There was even this is where cooking and teaching cooking. You can have that right on screen while the teacher's teaching them. And then what we did is that wall that you see, that white one there, it folds into the ceiling to make 2 classrooms into one big room. And they wanted a commercial kitchen, and we wanted to make sure that looked all done. And that's really what it comes down to. just to give you an idea of, of these are some just. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly share that with you. Things are not alike. But just to give you an idea of what it could be, what it's like. You guys are home. I know sometimes it takes a little bit longer. We want it like tomorrow. But sometimes to get the funding, it takes time to work together. Council has been working pretty diligently for the Montreal Lake. And everybody's trying to do the right thing. We want to get it done sooner but sometimes the process takes time. Even the government of Canada doesn't get that money. Just because you want it tomorrow, they don't have it. Then after then we have our nation spread across Canada. We're not any different. The only difference between us sometimes is the line on the paper. You know, so we just gotta work together to save the Scotland. That's what I believe in. Save the Scotland. No, we can all work together. Save the Scotland, working together. That's what it's all about. Yeah,
How much did that school cost?
this school was just under 24 million. And the reason why the price was low was because we're supposed to serve a center, like the post residence. But now when we start building it, say that same school is going to build it up in northern Alberta, the cost will probably go up about 10 million plus that. Even the mechanical system or HVAC system, and part of that, the chief was asking for, once it's done, the work's not over. Now you got what they call post-inspection. You got it 12 months and 24 months of warranty, making sure warranty is covered. So those are the kind of things that if you take your own band member being involved, that's what they're going to learn. So part of what Julie's doing, those are the things you're going to. So any project we do, it's a similar process, a similar concept. You tender it out, go through design, go through building, then you got to maintain, whether it's a health center or.
Did I see on one of those slides that the school is going to be 4.9 million?
Which one?
On the slide you showed earlier, was the amount for the new school going to be 4 million?
The school
Yeah.
that we're talking about, the new one that you're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
it was initially, there was a number that was put 17 million. So when we upgraded the category, now it's estimated about 40 million.
Okay, so it's going to be better than that school on the screen?
Well, you want to, Montreal Lake, this is a nation that they will. And that school, sometimes we get into a situation where we get into an organic look, we call it. That's what these guys do, this kind of work. Organic means a lot of curves, a lot of slope. Sometimes that becomes a challenge for a nation because now you got to maintain that. Sometimes, then I remember going to a school while we were building this, just to go through a tour on school. There was a one that was shaped like an eggshell. It was a beautiful school. But what the teacher said, it's hard to police the hallways because there's a lot of blind spots. So what we did is we made it a functional building, but tying the cultural component. So you can stand almost in the middle when you come into that building. You can look down the elementary, middle school, high school. So we got a good view. So it's minimized. But sometimes you get challenged with bullying. It's what I heard at some of the schools. And my daughter was a teacher in the school. She talked about those things too. And there's a lot of things to think about. Sometimes our teachers, we expect them to do everything perfect. That's not their job. It's a tough job. Everybody's not a tough role to play. Leaders have a tough role. So they're under pressure now to keep moving this along, but they also have to. You want to ensure them, you have to give them that support, you know, and keep that just moving along. So I just thought I'd give you some ideas, and then I think lunch is being served, and keep what's going on. I know you can't see, but these are all the, say when I pulled up Montreal Lake, I see all the projects they're planning to build, not only here in Montreal Lake, but Little Red also. And then it shows that. But when they have a column here, they call it category. So what government uses is the little 4 quadrant category: yellow, blue, green, or white, or whatever. And then they go with water, sewer category, with a low, it gives a low number. So when the first one they had was a C5, when I seen it, and which means that we weren't even on priority, that it's color coded. So when we raised that and those problems that we're facing here, we brought it up to a category C5. So now it falls into the priority. So that's how we got the funding to get people like Kyle and their team to do the work that they're doing for you. So we didn't have to use any of your money. We made sure the government paid for it. So that's part of it. But that's what chief and council keep pushing for. All these projects, there's a lot of them here. There's roads. I know the chief talked about the roads earlier, and some of the other buildings in South Florida, daycare, pet start, they're all in this. So that's the pressure they're under to try and do more for the community. So I know Julie made a commitment for $200 on that. I told Julie, you gotta eventually,
Just
in
2 drops.
time, people like Julie here will be telling me all this and they'll be getting rid of me. That's what we want though. That's what we have to do. So, you want to go? Yeah. Hello. Now that's good. And that, sometimes some of them will have a competition, or even art, or sometimes kids are involved, or students are involved. The more people are involved, the more they'll take responsibility and ownership. Even the young kids, young children that are asking questions, this is their building, they'll take care of it. As soon as, when you see this building, we didn't hold back on windows or putting security and making sure it's wide open in the central community. Knock on wood. I mean, that the community were involved and they take, even the children are taking care of it. So, once you start taking too much security, preventing stuff like that happening, the more attempts are made. But sometimes we gotta trust each other, and we gotta be able to trust our children too. So with that, I think you were ready for lunch now, or is that what?
Yeah. So we have 2 winners here. AODBT selected 2 winners. We're not in the list here. So the 2 winners are $400 each. Karen Hobbs.
Karen Hobbs.
Right there. And the other winner is Amanda, Helen's daughter. The last, we have 5 more draws. We have 5 more draws of $20 each. The last 3 engagements, I got door prizes. We had the staff school, and then we had the elders, and then we had the youth, and we did door prizes for them, but I didn't do any this evening.
So it was just, it's been really surprise cash as well. So we'll pick 5 more names. And then we will have supper. 1,
Tiffany? Tiffany? Oh, yeah. That's not going to come over. Tiffany, Darius, and Sally. Tanya, there.
Darius. Thank you. Yeah.
Got them all, and one more. Brandon Bird. All right. All right.
Okay, thank you guys. And the delicious supper, we invite you to share. Okay, I think people get to
All right, while we're making our way for the prayer of the food, I just want to say thank you for giving us the time to give you an update of where things are at. But I'm impressed with the kind of weather that we had today. As many of you guys showed up, thank you all, and we'll see you all again down the road here when we come back for more meetings. Hi. Yeah, go Oilers, go. Yeah.
Father, we come to God and thank you for your food. May you bless each person that is here. Remember the food was made and where it came from. In Jesus' name we pray.
Designation right away.